Hello YouTube, welcome to the DBTGamer Show, episode 212. And today I'm going to review Castlevania Rondo of Blood for the TurboGrafx 16 CD, the PlayStation Portable, and it's also on the TurboGrafx 16 Mini. Let's get this review started. Okay, let's talk about the story for Castlevania Rondo of Blood. The story for Castlevania Rondo of Blood on the Wii Virtual Console is presented in one of the most bizarre ways I've ever seen. It has anime cutscenes, which are very pleasing to look at. But for some bizarre reason, they decided to have a brilliant idea. Let's have the subtitles be in Japanese. Okay, that's confusing to start with. And then let's have the voice acted in German. Why? I don't get why these two were together. It's just weird. I wasn't expecting it to be dubbed in English, but a combination of German and Japanese is just weird. Probably the best version of the game is on the PSP. The remake is fantastic. The cutscenes actually have English voice acting, most of them, and English subtitles. Okay, the opening cutscene for some bizarre reason still is presented in German, but at least it has subtitles this time. So if you're going to play this game, I would recommend the PSP game Castlevania Dracula X Chronicles. Anyway, now that I've got over my weirdness, onto the story itself. The Dark Priest Shaft has revived Dracula, and Richter Belmont's like, not this shit again. So he grabs his whip and goes off on a quest to kill Dracula. Also, 4 maidens from a nearby village have been kidnapped, and you have to go rescue the said maidens. Most of the maidens in the game, they're optional, but if you want that 100% completion bonus, I would recommend saving all the maidens. There is one maiden which I feel is essential to finishing the game, and that's Maria. Maria, when you first meet her, she's an adorable little anime girl in a pink dress, and Richter Belmont tells Maria to go home and let the men handle this. Maria just looks at her and pulls that generic sort of I'm annoyed with you anime cute face and says, I want to help you. And Richter Belmont's like, really? And she's like, yes. Maria explains that she's also a vampire hunter, just like Richter, but there was a raid on her village where she was kidnapped and her mum and dad were killed. So she's on a revenge quest. She is pissed, and she's not going to let anybody stand in her way. The raid was organised by the Dark Priest Shaft. More food for Dracula. Richter's girlfriend Annette was also taken in the raids. After a good few minutes of Maria and Richter Belmont arguing back and forth on whether she should help or not and whether she's capable of helping or not, Richter eventually backs down and lets her help, but under condition if it gets too dangerous that she leaves. Maria reluctantly agrees to this, but Maria is more than capable of taking care of herself. She is not the cute anime girl that she seems. I will explain why later. Probably my favourite character in the game that you can play as. She's one of the 4 maidens as well. So the story's pretty simple and it's good. Next, let's go on to the graphics for the game. Depending on which version of the game, your graphics may vary. The footage that I'm showing today is from the Wii Virtual Console version, but there is also a PSP version of this game which has like a remastered graphics and a remastered soundtrack and better voice acting. And then there's the Super Nintendo version. Yeah, Castlevania Dracula X. I've never really played Castlevania Dracula X, but I've seen enough of it to get a good idea of what it is. Mostly Castlevania Dracula X, my opinions are, it's a butchered port. It has missing characters, Maria being the main problem here. It has missing levels, missing boss fights, music's not as good. It's an okay game, but if you want the proper experience, play Rondo of Blood. Don't bother with Dracula X, it's just an inferior version. Next, let's go on to the controls for this game. The controls for Castlevania Rondo of Blood, they work really well. Now, it depends which character you're playing as though. If you are playing as Richter Belmont, Richter Belmont, he's not my favourite Belmont to play as. My favourite Belmont player is probably Simon Belmont from Castlevania 4 because, well, I'll explain why in a moment. Richter Belmont is a less experienced Belmont of the Belmont family. He can jump, attack with his whip, and move in 8 directions. The main issue I have with Richter Belmont is his jump is very, very stiff. and once you've committed to a jump direction, you're going that way. You can't exactly change your mind mid-jump and decide to shift your weight to go in a different direction. So yeah, jumping is stiff. Now, they did add in a backflip, which can get you out of certain situations. It has its uses. Also, Richter Belmont has an item clash, which he can use to destroy several enemies on the screen, depending on which sub-weapon he has at the time. You can also do an item clash without having a sub-weapon. It brings out a flame whip, which does a decent amount of damage. Fair warning, the item clash move does cost quite a lot of hearts, but overall, Richter Belmont controls pretty good. He just takes a while to get used to be honest. One thing that I was always disappointed about with this game is that the 8-directional whipping is gone from Castlevania 4. This game was made after Castlevania 4, so I was rather disappointed that the 8-directional whipping from Castlevania 4 did not return in this game, and it felt disappointing. It would have definitely made Richter Belmont more tolerable in the control department if he had this feature. Richter Belmont, he's your basic Belmont. He's pretty good. Now onto the controls for Maria. Maria does have less health than Richter, so be careful of this. Maria is my preferred character out of the two. Main reason is she can double jump, and this gives you, the player, a lot more freedom to angle your jumps and get to where you need to go, and she can also change direction mid-jump. She's just a lot more flexible and a lot more acrobatic. She's just a better jumper. Now her attack is a lot different from Richter's. She doesn't have a whip. She has doves, and these aren't your little birds that you release at the end of a ceremony. No, these are little death ravens that will come towards you and peck out your eyes and kill everything on screen if you just spam the one button enough times. So yeah, the death doves are really useful. You can also throw up to 2 doves at once, so you can keep the screen filled with plenty of death doves. She also moves in 8 directions with the directional buttons. She also has an item class just like Richter, and she can also, if you tap the buttons in a certain way, summon a doppelganger of herself, which will do some attacks and do more damage for 0 to 5 seconds if you manage to get the button combination down and get this to work. It's a little tricky, and most time if I want to pull it off, it happens by accident or by luck or complete randomness. I wouldn't say rely on this. If you're going to rely on it, you're going to need some practice. Definitely. Overall, the controls for this game, they work good. Next, let's get onto the music for Castlevania Rondo of Blood. Absolutely fantastic. Probably my favourite track from this game is Vampire Killer and Bloody Tears. A lot of this music was reused in Castlevania Symphony of the Night, and this music is fantastic. There's nothing else that can be said. It's just brilliant. Next, let's go on to the gameplay of Castlevania Rondo of Blood. It's a 2D side-scroller, but the game is kind of non-linear. Throughout the game, there are multiple stages to play through with either Richter or Maria. Once you unlock Maria, you can go through the stages and you can find alternate paths and alternate routes through the stages. Sometimes in this game, let's say if you fall off a cliff, in most Castlevania games of the time, if you fall off a cliff, you were dead, you lose your life, and you go back to your last save point. But in Castlevania Rondo of Blood, sometimes falling off a cliff will lead to another way through a level where you can find a secret. Example, finding Maria. So just because you fall doesn't always mean you're gonna die. There is 4 secret stages. Exploration is your friend. Yeah, I really like this non-linear sort of gameplay. Next, let's go on to the good stuff about Castlevania Rondo of Blood. Castlevania Rondo of Blood, it has a good story. It has nice anime cutscenes. Another thing I liked about the game was the gameplay. I really like the playable characters. Richter's fun to play as once you get the hang of him. Maria is fantastic with her death birds, and the game also has a stage select. So if once you've beaten a stage, you can go to the stage select menu and play any stage that you want, which is really nice when you're trying to get footage for a review. And also, let's say if you missed a stage and you want to go back, you can just select the stage before it and then find that secret stage a lot easier than having to play through the game multiple times. Another thing I really liked about the game is money actually has a use. You can purchase these little videos in the game which help you understand how to beat the bosses, which is quite helpful and quite nice. Next, let's get on to the bosses and the enemies for this game. The bosses and the enemies for this game they're good. I really enjoyed fighting a lot of them. There's vampires, mummies, stone golems, minotaurs, werewolves, Frankensteins. There's even one stage where you do like a boss rush and you get to fight classic Castlevania bosses from the previous Castlevania games. And this stage is really difficult because of the whole boss rush mechanic. Although, the bosses have one thing which I always feel is a dick move. They have a last ditch effort desperation attack bullshit. If you hit a boss on their final tiny bit of health, they will always charge at you with reckless speed and take you down with them, which is a pain in the arse. Because you think you've beaten them and then it just grabs you by the throat and then smashes you in the floor and says, "No, I'm killing you as well. I'm a crybaby." Desperation attack is annoying, but other than that the bosses are good and I really enjoyed fighting them. I also really enjoyed all the different types of enemies. Also, this game has a sound test where you can listen to the awesome music whenever you want. Throughout the game there are several items that you can collect. These are helpful throughout. These are often found inside of candles or walls. You have the heart, which you collect to use sub-weapons. It comes in two sizes, tiny, which is worth 1, and big, which is worth 5. And then there's some even bigger hearts, which can be worth a lot more. Then you got the food items, which are usually like big lumps of steak and pork chop. That is one huge pork chop. Although Maria, but because she's a cute little girl, she gets like strawberry sundaes and pieces of cake. There's the, well, in the manual it's called the rosary. It's a cross. It kills all the enemies on the screen and it's really helpful if you're in a bit of a jam. There's the potion, which makes invincible for 0 to 10 seconds. It's quite helpful. Money, which you can use per technique, and I think money can also earn you extra lives if you get enough of it. I'm not entirely sure about that, but I'm pretty sure it's happened before. And there's also an extra life item, which is a little sort of diamond gem thing. Next, let's go on to sub-weapons. Richter gets the classic sub-weapons of the Castlevania universe. You got the dagger, which you can throw 3 at a time. Really useful. Nothing's that hello, like a knife to the hand. Leon Kennedy taught me that. Then you've got the axe, so you can axe as many questions as you want. You have the cross, which is probably the best sub-weapon in the game. It's a boomerang of holy death. It's just awesome. And you've got the pocket watch, which stops time and slows down enemies for a little while. I very rarely use this. I prefer something a little bit more practical with a bit more range, to be brutally honest. And then you got the holy water, which you throw at the floor and it summons death fire to burn enemies. And then you've got the magic book, also known as the Bible, which makes like a shield around Richter Belmont and it protects him. All the sub-weapons are really useful, and depending on which sub-weapon you have in your inventory, you'll get all these different special attacks with the item clash. Possibly my favourite one with Richter is the Grand Cross, where he summons multiple crosses to lay waste to the enemies. Now on to Maria's sub-weapons. Maria, she doesn't have sub-weapons, she has pets. And her pets are both adorable and devastating. Her first pet is the cat. This is a little demon cat who runs up to you and scratches out your eyes and slits your throat. Do not mess with the cat. Then she has a tortoise who can be used as a shield to hide inside, and also the tortoise will spin around the screen and attack the bosses like Squirtle in the Pokemon anime. She has a pet dragon who attacks the enemies and also turns into a big dragon and attacks multiple enemies on the screen. She has a phoenix, which summons 2 little phoenixes and attack enemies that are primarily above you. She can also summon a big phoenix with the item clash to rain fiery death on everybody. And then she has the egg, which hatches some chicks to attack enemies. And then she has the songbook. Now the songbook, when I first saw this item, I wasn't so sure what to think of it, but Maria starts singing and I have 2 conclusions for this. 1, her singing is so bad that it kills people. Or 2, she sings metal music and just rocks the enemies so hard that they die of awesome rock music or metal music. I like to believe it's that answer. You know, she just sings awesome rock and metal songs just to get rid of her enemies. And then there is another sub-weapon. Well, I say sub-weapon. It's more of an annoyance than a sub-weapon. It's the key. The key is required to unlock doors to unlock Maria and the other maidens of the game when you need to rescue them. I'm not the biggest fan of this item because when you collect it, you can't use sub-weapons. And also, let's say you grab your key and you lose a life, your key is gone. So yeah, it's a bit of a hindrance, but it does unlock Maria, which makes it quite helpful. So overall, I enjoyed the majority of the sub-weapons and the animal buddies that you can have with you. That's all the footage I'm going to show. Now on to my complaints about Castlevania Rondo of Blood. Castlevania Rondo of Blood is a really good game, and it was very difficult for me to find things to play about. But my complaints are as follows. Jumping with Richter Belmont is stiff and can be annoying. It takes a good while to actually learn how to play Richter properly. He's definitely the hard of the two characters. My second complaint is the key replaces your sub-weapon, and this makes playing the game a lot more difficult when it comes to attacking enemies and you want to get stuff done, but you haven't got a sub-weapon and you have to rely on your whip or your death dove. Third and final complaint, Richter doesn't have the 8-directional whipping that Simon Belmont has in Castlevania 4, and this is rather disappointing because it makes Richter Belmont, along with his awkward jumping controls, just feel like a basic Belmont, when he could be a lot more if the developers decide to put more moves for Rick in the game. Okay, it might make the game easier and less, and the difficulty might need rebalancing, but I just want my 8-directional whipping, damn it. It would just make the game a lot more enjoyable in terms of attack options. And that's all the complaints I have. Overall, this is a good game. It's definitely worth buying, definitely worth playing. My rating for Castlevania Rondo of Blood is a 4 out of 5. So it's definitely worth buying, definitely worth playing. The last thing I want to say is this game can be a little bit difficult to find these days. The Wii Virtual Console is gone. God, I miss you. It's not even on the Wii U's Virtual Console, which is a huge missed opportunity. I thought it would at least be on there. It's available on the PSP if you find a UMD in a second-hand shop, or you can download it off the PlayStation Shop and then copy it over to your PSP. And also, you can buy a TurboGrafx 16 Mini, which has a bunch of other TurboGrafx games if you feel like shifting into Turbo and putting on those TurboGrafx nostalgia goggles. So there are ways of getting this game, it's just a little bit more unusual. It would be nice if Konami decided to make a Volume 2 of their Castlevania collection and put this as part of that Volume 2. Anyway, I will see you guys in my next video. Thank you for all the support lately. Please like, comment and subscribe.